Good morning, my friends. How are you? Happy Saturday. Thanks for joining us here. This is Warm N Cozy Quilting. I am Sadie. Welcome. We're so happy you're here. Good morning. Yesterday was Halloween. How was your Halloween? Was it good? Halloween's my favorite day of the whole year. So this morning, I am very much embodying the mayor from Nightmare Before Christmas, who his face flips around and he says, only 365 days until the next Halloween. That's me. That's me today. Also, you may notice it's just me. Usually there's a couple of us in here, but this morning Danielle is teaching. We've got fun things happening in the shop, so just me today. So please bear with me as I am producing and also giving you all of the content and chatting. So bear with me if I have to stare into my computer or I misclick buttons, because that's probably going to happen today. Anyway, on Saturday mornings, we usually say hello to everyone. It's very low-key situation. We get our coffee, we sip, we chat about what's going on in the world. So good morning. I'm going to say hello to some people that are jumping on. Good morning 2.0, who says smile because I started the video as I was still clicking and I did not realize I was on camera yet. So the very beginning of this video, I am diligently working. That's what I look like when I'm working. Concentrated face, not sad face, just, busy. But yes, good morning, Deborah. Good morning, Jackie and Dolores and Joni, which is our Southern Illinois represent. Even though Jason's not here, I still got you. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. So, a couple of things about Warm and Cozy in general that I wanted to tell you about. There'll be more details about all of these things, of course, in our newsletter and things that'll be coming out soon. However, one thing that we are doing right now, anyway, is we're doing a post-holiday, handmade holiday sales promotion that starts today, goes through the weekend, because, the holidays are coming. And this year has been like a little weird with the weather, right? So I feel like it hasn't really felt chilly. I haven't been in that like fall wintry mood. So I know for me, like I have not even thought about Christmas, and it's time for me to get my life together and get ready for Christmas. So if you are in the same boat, we are giving you 30% off on all holiday fabrics. Get ready for 2026. All of these holidays are going to come back around. So come in or shop on our website. No code needed. Everything is already discounted. So you can see that price right away before you commit. A lot of them are like $9 a yard. It's wonderful. Anyhow, so check that out. But we want to find ways to give back, right? I know economically things are very tight for people right now. Things are a little bit strange. So a lot of us are going into our stash, trying to find deals where we can. I get it. I'm in the same boat. So what we want to do for the month of November is every Thursday, we are doing what we're calling Thankful Thursdays, where we're going to launch a new sale, focusing on one thing or another. It might be a designer. It might be, a specific category of prints, but just to showcase some things and also try to get you a deal because, no one likes to pay more than they have to, right? So when we can, where we can, we like to, try to pass some savings along, but also like all hobbies are expensive. That's just the way of the world. And I have a lot of expensive hobbies, so I get it. I'm gonna jump back and say hello to some people. Good morning, Janet, and good morning, Joellen. And Karen says I can wear a costume and eat candy every day, which sounds like a dream to me. I just love a little whimsy, and a sweet treat never hurts. And time with your friends is just always good. A little hijinks, never a bad idea. So, also and good morning, Stacy. I so appreciate y'all that are commenting along because it's a little strange to talk to yourself in an empty room with this weird black box. So, remind me that there are people that I'm actually interacting with a little bit. The other thing that I kind of want to chat about today is we did a video for our 10-year anniversary and told a lot of the story of Warm and Cozy, how we came to be. And a lot of folks heard kind of the history of my mom, Debbie, my sister, Danielle, and Jason, her husband, and kind of how they got into the business and also into sewing. And after that, I heard a lot of people saying, well, what about Sadie? We didn't get to hear about Sadie. So I'm going to kind of, talk about those things and also give you, kind of that history about me and answer some of those like most asked questions. If you have questions for me, please type them. I'm happy to answer anything. Yeah, so that's kind of the plan today. I also wanted to just remind you all that in November, of course, we're always thinking about not only the ways that we're thankful, but upcoming, it starts the holiday shopping season. So, of course, some people have been waiting all year for this kind of time of year to come around for those big purchases. Sometimes that is a new sewing machine. If that is you, call us, talk to us. We've got some great things going on. Also, pretty much everybody does Black Friday and all of that stuff early now, so you don't have to wait till the end of the month. We can get you set up now. And why wouldn't you want to be sewing on your dream machine sooner rather than later, right? So that's happening. Also, we've got some class opportunities. Danielle is back from her hip surgery. She's recovering really well. We have let her hit the ground running, and she's doing pretty great. So she's back to teaching. Danielle loves to teach. She's such a great teacher. She taught me everything I know. So she has a ton of Master Your Stripology ruler classes out there. If you want to cut quickly and accurately and easily, that is a great class to take. Teaches you all about the Stripology ruler and how it can just speed everything up and help your process. So I've got several dates of that, all the way through March. So even if the holiday season is a tough time to schedule for you, we've got you planned. We're trying to be more ahead and plan things out a little further in advance. So you'll see that we've already announced a lot of our sew-alongs and block of the month for next year. Also, at the same time, it is still just November. So we have lots and lots of time before any of that starts. But if you are also more future-oriented and are already in that mindset, you can check that stuff out as well. And speaking of, doing a handmade holiday or the holidays coming up, we have a holiday sew-a-thon retreat that is in December, also up on our website. You can check all of this out, warmandcozyquilting.com/classes. But you come in and for 3 days, we're going to allow you to hang out with us, 9 a.m., 9 p.m. Really what this is all about is dedicating that time on your calendar to getting things done. So it's kind of that holiday crunch time, but also then you get a little bit of community. You're with people that understand, and when something goes awry, we we all commiserate. And when something goes great, we'll all cheer for you. So it's a great time. If you are someone that needs that accountability or community, or just put it on the calendar, block it out, or you just need to get out of your house for a weekend and not think about, dishes and laundry, come hang out. It's a great time. Okay. Now that all that's out of the way, good morning to Karen and good morning to Janice. Nice to see you. Thanks for jumping on. I appreciate everybody who's hanging out, both on the Facebook side and the YouTube side. I can see you out there, so thanks. We have talked a lot about doing a series here where it's kind of like an interview with a quilter, or we have also been calling it like Meet the Maker. I don't know. That's a little close to Meet Your Maker, which is a little grim, and that's not what we're going for. But sewist is also a term that people use, or sewer, but sewer doesn't translate well in text because it looks like sewer. So anyway, these are the things that we're tossing around. If you have a clever name for something like that, let me know. But we're basically going to trial run it here today. And if this is interesting, if you like this, if you want to see more, let me know. I'd love to know, because it's something that we've talked about doing, and maybe even bringing some of you in to share your story, because every quilter has their own story. Every quilt has a story, and we want to celebrate that. So who am I? How do I relate to Warm and Cozy? We'll start there, and then we'll transition more into just a little bit about me as a maker. So I'm Sadie. If you don't know, Warm and Cozy, we are a family-owned, multi-generational quilt shop located in Columbia, Illinois. We are about 15 minutes outside of St. Louis. Creator, that's also great. I do like that as well. Good thought there, Karen. I'm liking where your head's at. And anyway, back to Warm and Cozy as a brief overview. My mom, Debbie, and my sister, Danielle, opened the business in 2015. They had been sewing together in a church group setting, and the air conditioner broke, and it was way too hot on an August day. They couldn't sew. They were both really bummed, and they were like, we should just open a quilt shop, because then we're in control, and we can do this whenever we want to. And that was August, and by September, we had opened a quilt shop. My family tends to do that. We jump all in all the way. So if you haven't learned that about us, that's kind of our tendency. But in the beginning, it was just my mom and my sister, and they were running this cute little quilt shop on the north end of town here in Columbia. And it's kind of funny because my parents, when I was younger, were also Columbia, Illinois business owners. For a short time, they owned Eberhardt's, which was a German restaurant here in town. So kind of a full circle moment to come back and own another business here in this town. This is where I was born and grew up. So Columbia has a little special place in my heart. Of course, I then moved quite a bit, so I haven't been here my whole life, but spent some time in KC, ended up going to high school on the St. Louis side of the river, but all of my family is kind of scattered across both sides of the river. So they started the business, and I have always been more tech-oriented. I went to college, have a couple degrees, but my focus there was on digital media and on media production. So my prior life, if you will, was kind of based in working with web design and just a lot of technical computer stuff, but still on the creative side, right? Because I recognized in myself that I had this kind of love for the creative arts, whether it's writing or anything else, design, any of that. And also this love of technology. I am a gadget girl. When there's something new out that is going to make everything faster, easier, better, I'm like, tell me all about it. Tell me why I need it in my life. because I love to make things just a little bit easier, right? Get over those pain points in any process. Um, so, anyhow, they opened the business, and because I sort of had this tech background, they asked if I would help them out a little bit on getting an online presence and beefing up their social media. And I'm like, yeah, totally. And that's kind of how I got started. So I learned a lot of things about quilting so that I could market it in a way. And marketing is not really my background, but that's sort of where I've ended up. Um, and so I'm like, what is a tonal and why would you want that? Just all of these little questions that you don't know if you don't know. And of course, my mom had sewn my whole life, but you know, for me, I was like, oh, well, if she is doing that, then I can do something else because sewing is covered, right? Um, I'm sorry, I am also comment moderating. Anyway, perfect. So, sorry, I'm a little scattered today, but bear with me. I'm getting somewhere, I promise. Anyway, I came on, I was like 1 day a week helping with getting the website going, doing some of the social media things, and just kind of helping the business out. I had another profession, another career. I was working as a pharmacy tech. So I have lots of weird niche pharmacy tech knowledge or tech knowledge. If you ever have questions about that, hit me up. I might be able to help you. Not a pharmacist, just a nerd, and I remember weird things. Um, so I was working in the healthcare field, didn't really love it. Working for a big company. I liked taking care of people. I liked interacting with people. I didn't love the corporate world so much. And healthcare, especially, it is very difficult. It's long hours. You're giving so much of yourself. Wasn't where I wanted to be long term. So I was also kind of at this nexus of what am I going to do with the rest of my life? What am I going to be when I grow up? And I kept getting more and more involved in the business. As the business has grown, we've all kind of slowly given more and more of ourselves. So, especially Jason and myself kind of started as a 1 day a week, and then that transitioned to more days a week, and now to full time, and I live here. um, but that's kind of how I got started. And then one day I'm at lunch with my husband and my mother-in-law, and she happens to casually mention that she has always admired quilts and like loves going to Amish country and seeing all of those beautiful, intricate quilts. But they're so expensive, but she'd love to have one. And I went, I know people that know how to do that, and I'm going to figure this out. Because my mother-in-law, I love her so much. She's that kind of person that is difficult to shop for because she wants something and she goes and gets it for herself. And I love that for her, but sometimes it can be hard to then surprise her or give her gifts. So this was something I knew that she genuinely wanted, that she was unlikely to buy, and I wanted to be able to give her like a really meaningful gift. So I dug out my old hand-me-down sewing machine, literally brought it here in the box that it came in, and sat down and was like, okay, you're going to teach me how to make a quilt. Before that, I had only sewn a handful of things, and I didn't really have like a relationship with the machine. I was always on my mom's machine or someone else's machine. So I was really kind of intimidated by sewing machines. And I felt that there was like all of this knowledge that I was lacking because I just passed that off to mom. Like most of my sewing needs were, I was in Girl Scouts and I wanted my new badges on my uniform. Beyond that, I was like, sewing, I don't know. We just go to the store and get clothes, right? I don't, this generation doesn't quite have that connection with people making their clothes as much. Although my mom did make a lot of my clothes. So shout out to mom. She's doing the most. But yeah, then I sat down with Danielle and I was like, tell me something easy. I got to do this for my mother-in-law, and got into a class with a couple of my friends, and we made the Quick Trip quilt from Eleanor Burns. So this was my very first quilt. I had no idea what I was doing. My sister definitely basically made half of it for me, if we're being honest, but held my hand through everything and is literally going, this piece, like this, now sew. Taught me everything I know, and I was able, this is a great beginner quilt. There are very few seams that you have to match up. Eleanor Burns' method is makes it so easy. You do a lot of chain piecing and a lot of the sewing, recutting, and then resewing. So it looks very hard, but the assembly is actually easier than you think if you've not made this. So super beginner friendly. Also, you get pretty far pretty fast. It goes together quick. So this was the perfect beginning quilt for me because it gave me that confidence. I mean, within class, I think I had half of the quilt done. And I think that magic of like getting to see something change in my hands from my work, like, was amazing to me. And I was like, okay, I get this. Like, I finally understand what the whole sewing thing is about. And I was hooked. Then I was able to gift it to her for Christmas. And that experience was also just so tender. It meant so much to her. It meant so much to me. I really valued that I was able to give this physical thing that was a representation of like all of my time and love and well wishes. And so that was really magical. And I was like, all right, I'm in, I'm hooked. And that's kind of how I got started quilting. So since then, 2020, I left my pharmacy life and came here full time. And so glad that that timing worked out, because it was like February that was my beginning of February was my last day at the pharmacy. And we all know what happened in March of 2020. And boy, am I glad I was not in the healthcare field then. But of course, I joined here at a very strange time. We kind of knew that we were going to have to pivot and figure out some way to keep going when everything shut down, right? And the thing that I've learned about the quilt shop is that we get to know our customers and our clients and our friends so much, because you're making quilts for all of those big moments in your life, right? So we are hearing about new babies in the family, new weddings in the family, all of your celebrations, all of the people that are important to you. And so when we couldn't see anybody and couldn't, talk to anybody and couldn't gather, we were so missing that level of connection and community with our people, right? So we started doing these online videos just to check in. And of course, now here we are 5 years later, and we still do a live video twice a week because we love it so much. It's just so great to be able to connect with so many people at one time. And that really, it really carried us through COVID for sure. But a lot of that was kind of driven by my knowledge of social media and how to do video. And, of course, not that I had been running live videos twice a week before. So we did a lot of learning on the job. Many of you have been here since then, so you know. But I've always liked being behind the scenes, behind the camera. I wanted to create content from the back end, not be necessarily the face of things so much. But that's, really, that's a confidence thing. But, we'll get there. I'm there now. It's fine. We all grow. But yeah, I have then over time, I've made shop samples for, the quilt shop. I've made lots of quilts for friends and family. I still have, a project list that's a mile long, just like everybody else. But I wanted to just kind of bring in some of the things that I have made. I'm going to show those off. And also kind of let you know how my role with Warm and Cozy has changed over time. Because when I started, again, I was kind of doing the social media, making the website work kind of a thing. Then I took over shipping everything once we had to mail everything. That was mine too. Because at the time, I was basically the only one who had time to sit down at a computer in an office. So if it required somebody to sit down at a computer, I typically handled it. But since then, we've been able to hire a full-time long armor. We have Kelly here. She's one of the few of us that is not actually related by blood, only related in the heart. But she is one of my faves. Love her so much. So Kelly is amazing. If you don't know her, she does all of our long arming. If you've ever been in anything that's on the wall, I mean, it's probably quilted by Kelly, and she is just awesome. She was able to join us. We've had Trish here since the beginning, practically. She is Jason's mom. She works our sales floor, and she has such a good vision for great packaging and great merchandising, just to show things off and make it very visually appealing. She's awesome at that. Also a great sewist. She, is able to just see things and make it happen. And so she does a lot of things without a pattern, and she's amazing as well. But she kind of joined us, and over time, my responsibilities here have kind of shifted. And as I've gotten more and more involved with things, I started picking up things like who different designers were and what different fabric companies we have and what kind of notions we carry and why. And I love all of that stuff. So I like to get in the weeds about things. You deep dive down a rabbit hole on the internet at 11 p.m. Maybe that's not you, but it's definitely me. And because I've always had this weird memory where I can't remember some things to save my life, and then I know practically every bolt that we've carried in the time that I've worked with Warm and Cozy. You pick and choose. Maybe I could do quantum mechanics, but instead this is what I do. And I'm happy with that. But now I do a lot of the ordering. I'm still doing a lot of the behind the scenes on social media, mostly, doing the clicking behind the scenes and commenting back. That's typically me. I still do, I organize and curate our Wednesday night sales that we do. So I'm doing a lot of that, but mostly my job is curating what we carry in the store, which is quite an undertaking. So we have a good size space now. We expanded, we moved down the hill in 2017. We're now on the south end of town. But with that expansion, we've also then had a second expansion where we took over more spaces in the building we're currently in. We've had to add more inventory. And a lot of that has been, listening to you all, knowing what you all like, what you all gravitate toward, but also just, doing market research and learning more and more about the industry. So even though I've only been quilting and sewing since 2018, I have a weirdly deep knowledge about a lot of fabric and the sewing world. That is sort of my role up until just recently, this past summer. My mom has kind of been thinking about her life and wanting to spend more time with her grandkids. They're getting older. You can't get this time back. And many of you maybe don't know, but we have a brother, Danielle and I, who is active duty military. He's in the Navy, and he is currently stationed just outside of DC. So she likes to be able to hop on a plane and go see, family far away when she can. So her role here is gradually lessening. She is just looking forward to being able to set her alarm a few fewer times every week. and maybe get back to some of those things that she, can't when she's working full time, doing more sewing for herself. So ownership of Warm N Cozy has shifted. So she generously gifted her portion of the business to me. And so now I'm a quilt shop owner. And if you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be a quilt shop owner, or that I would be following my parents' footsteps in owning a small business in Columbia, I don't know that I would have believed you. So a lot can happen in just a few years. So that is sort of my role here now. Many of you have heard my voice behind the scenes in videos, but I've been popping my head up more and more and being in front of the camera. So thanks for hanging out with me. But I thought I would, let you know a little bit more about who this person is, who's this disembodied voice you hear and see occasionally. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I have made really quick because I wanted to do just like a little show and tell. And then I will kind of get to some questions interview section. So if you are out there and you have questions for me, or you want me to expand on anything that I have talked about, type them in the comments and I'll hop back over and I will let you know. I am going to just say hey to some people that I have missed. So I think last I said good morning was to Janice. So good morning to Karen out there. Also good morning to Sue, who says she ate at Everhart's when she was younger and it was fabulous. My Aunt Diane, who works for us now, she also worked for Everhart's back in the day. And she's always looking for Everhart's recipes because she's like, the spinach soup was so good. Anyway, she's got her favorites. So I'm trying to track those down. If any of you are interested in like old Everhart's lore or items, definitely let us know. Karen says, I do a fabulous job. Thank you so much, Karen. Good morning to Pat and Lydia. Good to see you on. Good morning to Terry, who says, glad that I joined the team. Always fun to visit with me. Thank you, Terry. You're so nice. And Tim, it's so great when you guys come in. I love to see you guys. Kim says, best quilt shop. Feels like part of the family. Thank you. That's kind of our ethos, right? Is we know from, like, we're quilters and creators too. We are consumers too. So we know that sometimes people are judgy or weird or whatever when you are just like trying to be excited about what you're making. And we hate that. So it's nice to be able to have a place where you can just be like, hey, look what I did. And somebody understands and is excited. There's also room at the table for everybody. Like, there's no reason to be an exclusionary club, in my opinion. Everybody has their own flavor that they bring to the table, and why not celebrate that, right? Lydia says, live, laugh, love Kelly. I agree. Kim says, Kelly is awesome. Joe Ellen says, Trisha's package sucks me in. I know. Man, she's just so good. And I'm like, how do you come up with these things? And she's like, I don't know. I just see it. And I'm like, Trish, truly a visionary. Kelly does a fantastic job. Deborah has said, oh, our website has changed. So Deborah used to live here locally, became friends with us there, and has since moved out of the area. So she's one of our faraway friends who has to visit us online, either through these videos or through our website. So she would know for sure. And we don't call her 2.0 for nothing. She has been an avid Warm and Cozy fan, and so happy to have her in our sphere as well. But thank you for that. That's very nice. And Karen says she's excited for me, and congrats, thank you. And hello to another Karen, and good morning to Jan. So I don't have my very first quilt that I made here with me today, but I do have the second quilt I ever made. So this quilt, I fell in love with this fabric. Of course, I'm going to tell you everything about this fabric because that's, what my nerd brain likes. So this was a Moda line from yeah, back when I first, kind of started. So definitely pre 2020, I bet. But it was all about home and kind of these cozy, homey, bless this nest kind of vibe. And so this was an old Stash Pot Pie pattern. Many of you may remember the old Stash Pot Pie patterns. We're still doing the North American Mystery quilt patterns every month. So Stash Pot Pie was like the first iteration of that program. We've now been doing that for 5 years. Oh yeah, so I guess this was 2020 because we started it in 2020. So this was one of those from that year. So they had me make the sample. No one told me that triangles were hard, but they are hard. And so this was my first time working with bias, and I made this using Thangles, which is like a paper strip that you sew your fabrics to, and then it's easy to kind of sew and trim all at the same time. Thangles are not my favorite way to make a half square triangle, but you don't know what you don't know. So I tried it. I didn't love it. This quilt gave me a lot of frustration because there was still so much I didn't know. Lots, when you do a grid, there's lots and lots of points lining up. And I wasn't so good at that yet. But I keep this guy around because it reminds me where I came from. I was not great at keeping a 1/4 inch. I have a lot of burst seams that I've had to hand stitch back, and I'm not so good at handwork either, but no one knows that. If I don't tell people, no one knows that. So I'm also trying to be better, but also trying to remind you, stop pointing out your mistakes in every project. But I do keep this around to remind me where I started and how far I've come. But I do love this. It's a cute little quilt, one of my faves. So, second quilt I ever made right here. Warm and Cozy History lives in my house. One of our throw blankets that is around all the time. My third quilt that I made was also a Stash Pot Pie. I think this was Stash Pot Pie 2. If my brain remembers correctly, it was March Stash Pot Pie 2. But this is a square and a square quilt. It is these pretty metallics from Hoffman Fabrics. And this kind of has like a wintry vibe, which was kind of what I was going for. To me, because it has all of these starbursts in the border, like I think of this as my New Year's quilt. Because like New Year's, I think of black and metallic, gold, metallic silver. So that's kind of this vibe. But I love a black and white quilt that has just a pop of color. Hold on, this way. Perfect. So that's what I did here. I did little pops of red, bound it in red, and this got me thinking more about laying out a whole quilt and getting to play with color. My first quilt was also black, white, and gray with a pop of teal. So that was kind of how I was introducing color into my world at that time. And then I figured out that I really loved this quilting thing and that I was going to keep doing this. And also that it needs to be Halloween in my house all year round because Halloween is my favorite day of the year. So the fourth quilt I ever made was an Elvira from GE Designs in all of these cute small print Halloween. This is also Moda Fabrics. Ghoulish greetings, ghostly greetings, ghouls night out. I don't know, something cute. But we quilted spider webs. Like, I love this little mummy on there and candy. Like, it's just my favorite. This quilt lives on my couch. It has no other home. It is Halloween all year round. This is the quilt that my husband and I typically fight over who gets to have. And I also have cats, and so my cats also fight over who gets to lay on it. It's also the first quilt that I put a label on. So I don't put a label on every quilt. I don't put a label on quilts that I intend to keep myself generally. But this quilt, even though it is fought over and beloved, did get closed in the recliner and got a little hole in the back. So that's why it has a label, but label your quilts. This is not my best work either. I did just a rough stitch, raw edge applique situation, but hey, we're learning, right? These are baby steps. This is where we started. One of the first things, oh, I didn't talk about this. One of the first things I ever had sewn, I did with Kate, who is a good friend of my sister's. She helped me sew this little bag. And I think this is it's a Lazy Girl Designs pattern. I want to say it's the runaround bag, but don't hold me to that. But we love a map in this family, me and Danielle especially. So this fun map fat quarter, I put in a zipper. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, but that's a pretty good zipper. First thing I ever sewed, really. Again, couldn't have done it without Kate. Shout out to Kate. That, and I made like those rice heat bags that you throw in the microwave and then put like on your neck or on, anything, sore muscles. I did a run of those for Christmas one year. So that was, real good sewing. But that's kind of where I started. Many of you got to see yesterday my very latest make, which was this quilted Halloween hat, witch's hat, that is this fun Halloween print that is all sewing notions. So I can be a stitching witch every year. So excited about that. I finished it literally Halloween morning. I didn't think I was going to finish it for this year, but I couldn't sleep and woke up at 5 a.m. and I said, I'm going to cut it out and get it done. So I did. I have, 4 or 5 projects in the works right now. I used to be a kit or a project buyer. I would only buy for the project I was working on. I would only work on one project at a time. I was trying not to have a stash. And, like everyone else, I fell in love. I fell in love with fabric. Now I have a stash. Now I work on 4 things at once, like you do. So a few questions. Also, good morning to Lori. Good morning to Deborah. And to thank you so much for Joni for saying my quilts were pretty. And Dina loved a red, white, and black quilt. And lots of love for Stash Pop Pie out there. That's good too. So I kind of talked about this a little bit, but the things that really drew me to sewing was really the desire to be able to make gifts for people. My mom, of course, did sew growing up, but it wasn't anything that I took interest in. Not that I wouldn't say that I devalued it, because my mom, of course, had made quilts for me that I still have, that I still love. My great grandmother, who we called Grandma Great, so sometimes it's hard for me to say great grandmother, but Grandma Great also quilted when I was young. So I did have that sort of family lineage. However, it wasn't something that immediately grabbed my interest, so it took me a while to come around to. But of course, I do have the nice luxury of having people in my family who, also quilt, and so they understand. But, they also value it. So I do enjoy making not only quilts, I do dabble in bag making. I try to challenge myself every once in a while. Oh, I did bring a bag. Oh, I dropped it. Hold on. Kelly and I, 2 years ago, I think, we did a wallet class with our friend Lauren of Mormino. She has her Sew Whatever studio in Belleville, and we made this heart-shaped wallet. So cool. But, challenging myself to work with different materials, working with vinyl, putting in a snap, making card slots, working with this clear, vinyl window. There's little pockets, and I did all this on a domestic machine. It wasn't my machine. Putting in a zipper and having fun zipper pulls. So I do like to make things like this. Everything that I have made bag making wise, I have not kept. I've made them for gifts, except for this guy. and my first bag. So I don't have too many other things to show you, but it is something I dabble in. I'm also hoping to challenge myself soon to make a quilt with curves, although I did do some curved binding on this hat. So I do feel like I've worked with curves a little bit now. So that should be good. And I'm planning on taking a foundation paper piecing class because I want to be able to make, some different shapes. But anyway, those are challenges coming up. I think for me, one of the questions that I posed to myself here was, what are like my favorite parts of the hobby? And for me, I think it is just all of the benefits, right? Like, it keeps me mentally sharp, gives me something to mull over and think about that is way better than spiraling about anything else. Because sometimes the world is loud, and it is so nice to just shut that out and think about quilt math instead, because there's an answer at the end, Also, the fact that it gives me that flow state, I can really fall into sewing, and I blink and 5 hours has gone by because I just get so into the process of it. And also, it's just good for your mental health. It reminds me that I can make change, that I can make things with my hands, that I can give something physical that is a representation of, my love, my care, all of that. Those are the things about it that are really valuable to me. I also really love that it kind of has this lineage and this connection with women and with history and all of the ways that fiber has been used to tell stories throughout the centuries. Like, I just love being a part of that storied history as well. And knowing that I'm making things that will outlast me, that somebody may have this when I am no longer here, or when I just can't be where they are physically. I like that I can give somebody some comfort. I definitely think that my making in general, my tastes in quilting have changed a little bit over time. I think I kind of leaned a little bit more traditional in the beginning, and I definitely lean more brights and modern now. And whether that's just me following trends or just a fact of, my taste changing over time, who knows? So, does anybody else have questions for me that I can answer? I have not seen much. I'm going to address a few comments, and if nothing else comes through, I think I'll wrap it up for the day. But just wanted you to know a little bit about this voice behind the camera, and what I do for Warm and Cozy, how I got to be where I am, what I'm making, what I'm doing. And if you want more, Sadie content in your life, definitely let me know. Looks like Lori said, just came across and will be back. 4th generation quilter. That's amazing. And the last thing in the world I need is another quilt, because I have quilts from everyone. I have a quilt that Jason has made. I have a quilt that Danielle has made. I don't quite have one that my Aunt Diane has made, but we're talking about doing a swap, me and her. I have quilts from my mom. I have quilts from my husband's grandmother. And those are all so important to me. And I like that I still have little bits of those people in my home, they're in my home and in my heart. Anyway, that's pretty sappy, but that's where I'm at. And then Donna says, this is an awesome conversation. So thank you, Donna. I really appreciate you all hanging out with me this morning and listening to me, chat a little bit, let you know where I'm at and what's going on. We want you to feel welcome when you come, and we want you to understand that we know you and we care about you, and we really appreciate that you know us and care about us too. So I love you all. Janice says, thank you for sharing with us. And Joni says, great show. Always feel like friends in the shop. And that's what we want. So I'm so glad that people feel that, because that's what we're trying to achieve here. I hope you enjoy your Saturday. It's a little chilly out, but, have a chill weekend. We did the whole Halloween trick or treat. All of that was yesterday. Let's coast to the end and then have a good week next week. We love you. We're so thankful for you, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye.